Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Jackie Lynch with Foresight, and I want to thank you for attending our presentation this morning on moving IT from complex to integrated, where we're going to look at convergence, and then specifically we're going to look at issues around the IBM PureFlex systems that just got announced and how they fit into an integrated environment. This session is being recorded so that you will be able to play it back later, and I will send out the link to that as well as to a PDF of the presentation later. Right now I have everybody on mute except for the three speakers, and we'll do some questions at the end. We'll unmute everybody. So we have three speakers on presentation today. The first presenter is going to be Jeremy Wonson, and he's with our converged infrastructure team. He deals specifically with converged infrastructures across all of the different platforms. He's one of our principal architects, and he's going to talk to you about converged infrastructures, what they are, and so on. Then I'm Jackie Lynch, and I'm a solutions architect with Foresight. I deal primarily with power. And Andrew Goad, who's also a solutions architect, and he's going to be our lead technical person on the Pure systems. So with that, I'd like to hand over to Jeremy so that Jeremy can talk to you about converged infrastructures. And if you have questions throughout, you can always send them to me privately through the chat, and we'll make sure we address them later. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Let's see here. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so one of the reasons that our clients are asking us about converged infrastructure is because of the focus on cloud that we're seeing in the industry today. With a lot of our clients, we're hearing from IT leadership and IT executives that they have to have a cloud strategy. They're developing their cloud strategy, or they're in the process of changing their cloud strategy because of the adoption that we've seen in the marketplace of cloud and cloud-like services. Even creating cloud-like services inside their own data center. So these are some of the things that we've seen, and these are some of the trends that not only that we've seen, but also Gartner and so forth. Next slide. So some of the things that IT today is having to compete against when it comes to cloud is the abilities that service providers have. So service providers have been able to monetize the traditional IT services, and because of that, they've been able to do some things, and like as you see here, they can provision very quickly. Typically in an IT environment, you may see up to 2 weeks to provision a service. They have to standardize on everything because they're monetizing those assets, and so they're very concerned about the cost, of everything that they're providing. Their supply chain is very optimized. They spend all this time focused on optimizing how they deliver their IT resources, and what that does is it drives down the cost of their service, but it also increases the performance that they're able to give, in terms of increasing customer service for their customers. And some of those costs they market out there to the upper executives in different companies, and then they go and talk to the IT executives and say, what is your cloud strategy? Why aren't we using cloud? Look at how cheaply all these things can be done. What's your price for these types of services? And what is your price for a virtual server? And a lot of times, IT executives aren't even able to answer those questions. When they are, it usually doesn't seem as good as what the cloud providers can offer. Simply because they're, first of all, the cloud providers don't necessarily open up all of their costs at first. Maybe somewhat of a marketing game. But the other the other thing is that there's a lot of challenges that, that IT shops are facing today, and they're trying to optimize, but they run into quite a few challenges. Next slide. So as they're optimizing IT, they're at varying degrees of maturity in different areas. And these are some of the areas that we've seen our customers say, these are some of our outcomes, right? And these are some and the drivers that they have for these will be different between clients, because they may be really good right now at standardization, but in terms of scalability, maybe not so much. And some of what drives how they approach each of these may be the risk that is acceptable to them. So you want to be scalable to a point, but you also don't want to increase your costs so much just for the sake of having a very scalable infrastructure. So you may affect your cost control. So go ahead and hit the next slide, please. So as they're trying to optimize IT, they also run into problems, right? So we have a lot of our clients that are running into delays. Projects will go over time and over budget for a variety of reasons, and you can see in the different phases in a typical IT project some of the delays that can happen, right? There's and you'll see if you add up the percentages on the budget, you'll see it's like, over 100% sometimes, because things do go over budget. And you can see on the right-hand side that some of the things that cause these delays are things having to do with interoperability between components, tuning the environment, integration issues, installation issues, things like that. Things that could be addressed with a converged infrastructure. Go ahead and hit the next slide. Right, and what we're seeing as we look at some of our clients, and this is also IBM's data center study, right? As IBM has looked at their clients, and they've found that as their clients are adopting newer technology, they're more efficient, right? And that only makes sense. And it also helps them, though, with their capability to deliver services and reduce in a timely manner and reduce the number of projects that go over budget. So it also allows them to spend less time focusing when they're using some of that new technology. It allows them to spend less time just keeping the lights on and more time focusing on new projects or maybe even innovating. Next slide. All right, so what we've found as clients are trying to improve their levels of service and reduce the amount of time they spend focusing on keeping the lights on, and move towards more of a model that could be considered private cloud, or treating IT as more of a way to deliver services, is that we've developed this methodology, and it starts really with standardization. Standardization and virtualization. And what we've seen with some of our clients is they aren't necessarily standardizing before they virtualize, but most of our clients are in that stage of trying to standardize what platforms they're going to stick with, and moving towards more and more virtualization. Most of our clients are actually virtualizing quite a bit and they're trying to heavily virtualize right now, including virtualizing the desktop and things like that. Now, as you can see, the service providers are typically around that orchestration automation area. Now, what's interesting is they don't all arrive there using a standardized tool set. A lot of them will, that automation is their secret sauce, and that orchestration is their secret sauce. And what they've done is, once again, since they had to monetize their assets, the less time they spent managing things, including managing order to delivery, which is what the orchestration piece is, the more money they made on those services. So they kind of did their own thing when it comes to automation orchestration, the big ones. A lot of the small ones now, we're starting to help with the same thing that we're doing for enterprises, which is starting with convergence. So the standardization and virtualization just leads to convergence for an enterprise, and for sometimes these small service providers that want to create cloud-like services. A converged infrastructure gives you that standardized platform that you can use, and it most of the time has virtualization built in. Right? It doesn't always have to be virtual. It doesn't always have to have like a hypervisor, for example. It could have a regular old operating system. But the more you virtualize and the more you work with converged platforms, the easier it is for you to do things like automation. You can think if you had 50 different standards, right, how difficult the project would be to automate some of those processes. Same thing if you don't really have standards, or if your standards are different from project to project. In a very similar fashion, orchestration is taking the workflow from order to delivery and making that more automated, or putting that through a process where there's a system that is moving an order through a workflow to delivery. And if you haven't standardized your order to fulfillment processes, maybe you have a different process every time you have a project, or maybe there are quite a few different processes, that can also cause problems here. So you may have heard, over the last while, you may have heard, well, when somebody comes in to do an orchestration automation project, that can take years and millions and millions of dollars. And a lot of that is because most IT environments aren't ready. They've done some standardization, but they haven't really done enough standardization to the point where it'd be easy to fit in automation orchestration. When we talk about hybrid integration, we're really talking about, a hybrid data center.